hiddenhistorymuseum.com. Everybody contribute to the Hidden History Museum every month. Set up an automatic contribution every month to the Hidden History Museum because we have so many great things in the museum. Look at the artifacts. You can come get a Hidden History Museum t-shirt. You can get all the DVDs. We're gonna have the DVDs for sale there. You can have, come in and get my books. They're gonna be for sale in the museum.
Yeah, we back. We got another interesting video. Now today, brothers, I'm gonna teach you how to get money like Tariq Nasheed. You know, lately on my channel, I've been discussing the various different hustles that people are launching on social media. Now, as we know, YouTube is a place of various communities, various algorithms, especially on Black YouTube. We got the Black feminist sector, we got the Black manosphere sector, we got the Black business sector, we got the Black finance sector, we got the pro-Black sector, and today we're gonna dive into that one. We're gonna talk about how to get money like Tariq Nasheed in the pro-Black sector. In case your money running low, if your checking account is currently in overdraft, listen, pull up a seat, let's talk about it. In this video, we're gonna break down various clips, and as you know, I'm gonna come back on my commentary. Let's go.
The colonizers came, you sat down and shut up. In your own homeland where you outnumber all of the damn non-white people. You sat down and shut up and didn't do nothing and let them fleece your damn homeland. Don't get mad at us because you ain't got that in your damn spirit, bruh. You got on your track shoes. Don't get mad at us because we stand up. We called the bullshit out. That's a part of our culture. Because we're the only ones who are really consistently, and the key word is consistently, we have consistently challenged the white supremacist status quo. You dig? They can't break us. They've been trying to break us for 500 years. We have not been broken psychologically. They're like, damn, how do these niggas just keep on standing up? You dig? You understand? We're the only ones to do that consistently. I'm not talking about a one-hit wonder here or there. You had a revolution, might have had a revolution in Jamaica. You had one in Haiti a couple of 100 years ago and then no more. No.
Now, first things first, before I even jump into the lesson on how to get money like Tariq Nasheed, we got to correct all the false narratives that he just put out on that video, one by one. In fact, this is not the first time that I've addressed this statement that he put out. If you take a look up on the screen, I put out a video sometime 3-4 months ago entitled, Tariq Nasheed Destroys Pan-Africanism, FBA Debunked. And that video is almost 2 hours long. And I just went down a whole entire timeline, basically confirming that everything he said was some bullshit. His little FBA group are not the only ones to fight white supremacy. In fact, if you want to be honest, and this is no offense to my Black American brothers, just know I'm talking to FBA. I'm talking to those who subscribe to that political ideology. So when I'm laying out the historical facts to debunk his narratives, I'm not trying to throw dirt on the entire ethnic group as a whole. So I don't want y'all getting offended, but we got to state the facts. We got to put the facts on record. Not only is Tariq Nasheed lying when he says that FBA are the only ones to fight white supremacy, if you want to be honest, FBA has actually spilled the least amount of European blood compared to all other Black ethnic groups. If you want to line them up, talk about all the military engagements between people of African descent and people of European descent, and we want to talk about how many bodies dropped, how many European bodies dropped, how much blood was spilled, FBA has spilled the least amount of blood in terms of just going straight barrel to barrel, gun to gun, sword to sword against the European. They've dropped the least amount of European bodies and spilled the least amount of blood. And I'm not saying that to slight my brothers, but when you have Africans back on the continent, they got battles against Europeans going back all the way to the early 1500s, all the way up until the mid 1900s. You got to understand, that's a lot of conflict, that's a lot of war, that's a lot of blood, that's a lot of bodies dropping on both sides. So us in the diaspora, our little revolutions and our little rebellions here and there, it doesn't really amount to the amount of conflict and military engagement that occurred on the African continent between Africans and Europeans. You're talking about damn near 500 years of conflict and documented warfare. To put it in perspective, there were wars between Africans and Europeans on the continent that lasted damn near 100 years straight. For example, take a look up on the screen. The Xhosa Wars were a series of 9 wars from 1779 to 1879 between the Xhosa Kingdom and the British Empire, as well as the Trek Boers in what is now the Eastern Cape in South Africa. These events were the longest running military action in the history of European colonialism. To put that in perspective, compare that to the rebellions that we know of that occurred in North America. I believe the longest running military conflict or military engagement between blacks and whites in North America was the 1811 German Coast Uprising. This was a revolt of slaves in parts of the territory of Orleans on January 8th to the 10th of 1811. The uprising occurred on the east bank of the Mississippi River in what is now St. John the Baptist, St. Charles, and Jefferson parishes in Louisiana. The slave insurgency was the largest in U.S. history, but the rebels only killed 2 white men. Confrontations with militia combined with post-trial executions resulted in the deaths of 95 slaves. So, the largest military engagement between what Tariq Nasheed calls FBA and the European adversary, it only lasted 2 days. It only lasted 48 hours, and they only took 2 white men to the cemetery. And then damn near 100 black men died. And on top of that, the general that led this rebellion was a Haitian who was born in Haiti by the name of Charles Delon, which makes sense because this rebellion occurred in the former French territory of New Orleans. Again, this video is not to throw shade or minimize the accomplishments of my brothers from North America, but we have to set the historical record straight. If y'all not gonna check them, then I gotta check them, all right? Y'all should make your own videos checking y'all mans, but if y'all not gonna do it, then I'm gonna have to do it. But don't take offense, man. Don't think I'm trying to insult y'all or slander y'all, but I just gotta put the facts. I gotta make it plain. I gotta correct the false narratives. You know how I do it, man. So let's continue. For those of y'all who've been watching my channel, you know I had reviewed a piece of content released by Signetter. Tariq Nasheed recently went to Signetter's platform and spoke on a variety of topics. Signetter had asked him what is his opinion on black men in North America, black men in America, separating from white men and establishing something for our own, something for ourselves, a nation that is self-sufficient, self-governed, self-maintained, self-financed, everything in between. And Tariq Nasheed basically told Signetter that that's a fantasy. Black men in America will never be able to have their own nation, will never be able to be self-sufficient, will never be able to be self-determined, will never be able to have anything of our own, and our destiny is linked at the hip with white men. So I'm going to play that clip and I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue to debunk his bullshit. And then towards the end, I'm going to teach you how to get money like Tariq Nasheed. Let's go.
Do you support separation from Europeans? And is it really time for that right now? Or is it realistic in 2023?
And that's a very valid question. A lot of people have asked that question. And the answer is, where are we going to separate to? The white supremacists, as Neely Fuller says, they control the known universe. We can't even go to the moon. The white supremacists control the moon. The white supremacists control Mars. If we figured out a way to go to Mars, the white supremacists are already there. They control the world and the known universe. So we have to deal with the problem of white supremacy head on. There's no separation because they've dominated all of the known universe. So we got to deal with them head on. And we have to replace that system of white supremacy with a system of justice. And it's up to us to do that.
Now, you heard it live and direct. Signetter had asked Tariq Nasheed, will black men in America ever be able to separate from white men and establish something of our own, self-sufficiently, separate from the European power structure? And in summary, Tariq Nasheed basically told Signetter that he was smoking crack, that he was out of his mind, that he was bugging out. That'll never happen. In so many words, Tariq Nasheed said, even if we go to a distant planet, we are always going to be under the subjugation of men of European descent. That's what he said. That's what he said, plain and simple. And in fact, about a week ago, I dropped a classic video entitled, take a look up on the screen. Tariq Nasheed admits that he is scared of white men. That video is about 20 minutes. Go check that out. A banger, a classic, one of my best work. Now, let's get back into it. Before I move forward, I want to double back to the 1811 slave rebellion that occurred in New Orleans. If you take a look up on the screen, you see it says the belligerents, enslaved Africans against local planters and militia regulars, the commanders and leaders, Charles Delon. The strength, about 200 to 500 enslaved Africans against 2 companies of volunteer militia, 30 regular troops, and 40 seamen. The casualties and losses, damn near 100 black men died and only 2 white boys died. That was the largest military engagement that occurred on U.S. soil, on U.S. territory. Now compare that with somebody who says that Haiti was just a one-hit wonder, Jamaica was just a one-hit wonder, Haiti the one-hit wonder, where over 100,000, 200,000, damn near 300,000 white boys got sent to hell. Black men in Haiti killed hundreds of thousands of white boys, white men from France, white men from Spain, white men from Portugal, white men from Britain. He calls that a one-hit wonder. And he also says that without his FBA group, the entire black race would be done. He says that the only reason why the black race is not subjugated is because FBA are the only ones standing on the front line. Does he not know that Africans on the continent are at war right now? Does he not know there's an ongoing conflict in the Sahel region in West Africa, where Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Mali are currently going to war against the jihadists in the Sahel region, the jihadists that were planted by the French and the Americans after the assassination of Gaddafi? You got black men in Africa right now going to war, defending their national territory, going barrel to barrel, gun to gun against an adversary that was placed there by the European power structure, by the white supremacists, as he calls it. And as we speak right now, right this second, those black men are over there risking their life and dying for their country. In fact, take a look up on the screen. The Mali War is an ongoing armed conflict that started in 2012 between the northern and southern parts of Mali in Africa. On the 16th of January 2012, several insurgent groups began fighting a campaign against the Malian government for independence or greater autonomy for northern Mali, which they called Azawad, the National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad, an organization fighting to make this area of Mali an independent homeland for the Tuareg people, had taken control of the region by April 2012. And this is part of the larger Islamist insurgency in the Sahel, or also known as the jihadist insurgencies in the Sahel, refers to the Islamist insurgency in the Sahel region of West Africa following the 2011 Arab Spring to the present day. In particular, the intensive conflict in the three countries of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso has been referred to as the Sahel War. So in summary, due to the fact that the West, France, the United States, and their allies, etc., constantly meddling in the political affairs of Africa, destabilizing Africa, flooding weapons in the Sahel region of Africa, ordering assassinations of African heads of state, what we have going on now in the Sahel is the after effects of all of that. This is what they call white supremacy, right? The white supremacists here in Africa behind the curtain engaging in nefarious affairs. Well, guess what? This is the consequence of that. And those men in that region, in Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Niger, all over there, they are fighting against the destabilizing forces that are waging war against their government. They are dying for their national territory. I don't see Tariq Nasheed or any of his followers anywhere on any battlefield picking up any gun against anybody, dying for anything. But they get up on this internet every single day and they talk about how they're the only ones on the front line. They're the only ones who ever been on the front line. Without them, everybody would be conquered and subjugated. Bro, these declarations don't match up with the reality, bro. Because guess what? If that were the case, then the generals of each government that are currently engaged in the Sahel war, they would be able to reach out to Tariq Nasheed and his fan base and his audience and be able to get military assistance to do battle against the rebels in the Sahel. But they can't. They can't. Tariq Nasheed has nothing to offer anybody politically, economically, militaristically to fight against the so-called white supremacy that he's always yapping and babbling and talking shit about. The only thing Tariq Nasheed is ever going to do to a white supremacist is crack a joke. Crack a joke. That's all he's going to do. He's going to crack a joke. He's never going to pick up a gun and do anything to anybody. He's not going to harm a hair on the head of a white supremacist anywhere. He's not going to die for his country. He's not going to die for his people. He's going to continue to live comfortably in California in that big mansion, driving European-made vehicles. He's never going to get himself dirty or uncomfortable or go live in the woods, go live in the trenches, and really pick up a gun and defend his national territory. He's not going to do that. In fact, Tariq Nasheed has no desire to have a national territory, because when Sanetter had asked them, do you think we should separate and have our own, Tariq Nasheed said, hell nah. And that's the difference between Tariq Nasheed and the brothers out in the Sahel region right now, doing battle against the rebels and the jihadists, defending their country and defending their sovereignty. They don't need to get up on YouTube and talk shit and pump their chest, because they're really in the heat of battle right now. Which goes back to what I said. The black men on the African continent have been doing battle, documented on record, since the early 1500s, going against these destabilizing colonial forces, up until this present day where they still have armed conflict right now, due to European constant meddling in their political affairs. And the number one military engagement that Tariq Nasheed can point to was led by a Haitian in New Orleans, and it only lasted 48 hours, and only 2 white men died, and damn near 100 black men died. And that was the crowning achievement in terms of military battle. But at the end of the day, he's going to tell you that every other black nation on earth has a culture of bowing down to the European. When the European came, when the colonizer came, everybody just bowed down. And I told you earlier in the video, Africans waged war 100 years straight against the Europeans. What are you talking about, bow down? What are you talking about, bro? Bow down. The largest military conflict you can point to lasted not even a week, and only 2 white men died. Bro, during the Haitian Revolution, man, 2 white men died in the first 2 minutes of the revolution, bro. What? Nigga, in one day, Dessalines killed 500 white boys, bro. Hung their bodies up in the street and left them decomposing for days, nigga. And once again, this is not to disrespect my brothers from North America, but we have to set the historical record straight. When somebody from your group is talking this spicy, talking this crazy, if you're not gonna check it, I gotta check it, man. I gotta check it, man. And again, we gotta set the record straight when he said it was only a one-hit wonder down in Jamaica. It was only a one-hit wonder down in Haiti. Let's talk about it, bro. We got to set the historical context straight. Due to the fact that Tariq Nasheed has been pushing this false narrative for a while, I've made multiple videos in the past debunking the theory and debunking the narrative. In fact, take a look up on the screen. I dropped a video way back when my channel first started, and I said this. I had a video entitled, "The Only Black Man in History to Declare War on the United States," debunking FBA and Tariq Nasheed. I dropped another video as well entitled, when FBA and Tariq Nasheed say we fought in every single war. A few weeks ago, I put those videos on private, but today I actually put it back. I actually set it back to public due to Tariq Nasheed still pushing this false narrative. So I put it back to public for the people to enjoy. Go check those videos out. And in those videos, I paid homage to a black man who does not get the praise and respect and honor that he deserves. A black man by the name of Charlemagne Messana Tariq. He was born in 1886, died on the 1st of November, 1919. A Haitian nationalist leader who opposed the United States occupation of Haiti in 1915. Leading guerrilla fighters called the Cacos. He posed such a challenge to the U.S. forces in Haiti that the occupying forces had to upgrade their presence in the country. He was eventually killed by American troops. Tariq remains a highly praised hero in Haiti. He was killed by a U.S. Marine by the name of Herman Hannikin. And as you can see, that conflict between the Haitian rebels lasted from 1915 up until he was killed in 1919, the 1st of November. That was a conflict that lasted damn near 5 years straight. Again, like I said, compare that, a conflict that lasted almost 5 years between the U.S. Marines and regular Haitian citizens, just regular Haitian citizens defending their national sovereignty against invaders. That lasted 5 years straight. Compare that with the largest U.S. rebellion, the largest military engagement between blacks and whites on U.S. territory that was led by a Haitian, Charles Delon. A Haitian man was your general, and it only lasted 2 days. So you didn't really get the best general from Haiti. You didn't get the best. You didn't get Dessalines level, quality. You got I'm not gonna throw shade at Charles Delon, but my man died in 2 days. So Dessalines would not be proud of that. Dessalines would not be proud of that at all. I'm sorry. But rest in peace to Charles. He was only in his early 20s, so he wasn't like a seasoned vet or anything like that. I believe he died in his early 20s, so it is what it is. Rest in peace to the big homie. But I had to correct the historical record when he said that it was only a one-hit wonder. No, that's not the case. Haitians have had military engagements against the British, against the Spanish, against the French, and against the Portuguese and the U.S. Marines. Conflicts that lasted multiple years that involved men, women, and children and the elderly. We never had these high-level armies. It was always the regular citizens, the men, women, and children of the nation fighting barrel to barrel, sword to sword against the European invaders in the early 1800s and the early 1900s. So if you want to be honest, the black men who waged the longest running conflict against the U.S. Marines, against the U.S. government, were the Haitians. I'm sorry to tell you, bro. I'm sorry to tell you. Unless you can bring up a military conflict between the U.S. Army and black men from anywhere in the world that lasted longer than the 4 or 5 year period of the U.S. occupation in Haiti, then I'll give it up. I'll come back on the next video and I'll correct my statement. But as it stands right now, Haitians have not only stood up to every European colonial force, but they also stood up to your government as well and defended their national sovereignty until the death. And you know why that is? It's because our forefathers never had the mentality of the Europeans control the world and the land and the sea, like that bullshit you said on Sinetter. We never believed that. We never believed that we could not live in a world outside of their influence. We've always believed that we could be self-sufficient and stand on our own 2 feet. And we've always been willing to fight to the death to accomplish that. Even in Haiti right now, all those guns that were flooded in from the United States, guess what? The Haitian police, they going barrel to barrel against those gang members with all those U.S. manufactured weapons that they got in their hands. And similar to the brothers back in Africa in the Sahel region doing battle against the rebels and the jihadists, the Haitian police is doing battles against these gang members that are funded and armed by the West. And the Haitian police are putting their lives on the line, fighting to the death to defend the national sovereignty of the nation. So for Tariq Nasheed to get on his platform and say that everybody else has a culture of sitting back and laying on their back and not standing up and fighting and dying for what's right, for me, it shows me one thing. It shows that, I already told you, the American educational system, hot garbage, bro, hot garbage. The average American, regardless of race, background, walk of life, they cannot tell you anything that's happening geopolitically outside of their borders. They don't know shit, bro. They don't know shit outside of their own little bubble, outside of the Western Anglophone paradigm that they live in, that they were raised in and indoctrinated in. They couldn't tell you shit that's happening outside of that paradigm. And Tariq Nasheed is the manifestation of that. The fact that he can say that his group was the only group fighting against the European power structure, that confirms what I said. Tariq Nasheed is simply a product of misinformation and miseducation. The reason why he could say that is because he never heard about the Kosovo Wars. He doesn't even know there's a war going on in the Sahel right now. He doesn't know any of the conflicts that occurred outside of the borders of the United States. And the same thing goes for the average American. They really don't know what's happening outside of their little bubble and outside of their little sphere of influence. And that's kind of the reputation that Americans have built for themselves around the world. They're a very self-centered group of people who don't really know what's going on outside of their neighborhood, to be honest, which is fine. Everybody doesn't have to be cultured and knowledgeable on the world affairs, but they posture themselves to be the group that has all the answers to everybody's problems, and that doesn't make sense. You cannot act like you have all the knowledge, all the information, but at the same time, you can't even name basic shit, and you don't even have basic historical knowledge to back up your statements and your narratives that you promote on social media. And unfortunately, Tariq Nasheed is simply a product of the educational system that we have in the United States, and the sad part about it is he dropped out in the 9th grade, so he didn't even finish. So imagine that, bro. Imagine that. Not only is he miseducated, but he's undereducated on top of that. Now, when y'all get done with this one, I want y'all to go into my catalog and go into a video that is entitled Tariq Nasheed Destroys Pan-Africanism, FBA Debunked. That's almost 2 hours, and that's an in-depth analysis on how everything that Tariq Nasheed said in the beginning was some bullshit. All right, go check that out when you're done with this one. Now, before we get into the grand finale and I teach you how to get money like Tariq Nasheed, we're just going to go through various conflicts, engagements, political, diplomatic situations that occurred between black men and white men over the last few centuries. And it's important that we go over this information because Tariq Nasheed said when the colonizers came, you sat down and shut up. Oh, we got the culture of fighting against the white supremacists. So I'm just going to pay homage to all the various military engagements and various political situations that occurred over the last few centuries. And hopefully, going forward, we never have to continue hearing these false narratives spread on social media ever again. Now, let's get into it. I've discussed this on my channel before, but I know many of you have never heard about this because they'll never teach it in school. They'll never glorify this in school. Did you know that during the transatlantic slave trade, there were many times that slave ships got captured, where slave captains got arrested, sometimes killed, and hundreds of Africans got their freedom when the boat was rescued and brought to shore? You know this occurred on multiple occasions, right? Let's get into it, man. Let's go into a history lesson. Take a look up on the screen. The most renowned of these liberation operations occurred in October 1817. The Royal Gazette of Haiti reported that the Haitian authorities had captured a Portuguese frigate near the northern city of Cap Henry. The ship was on its way from Cape Verde, off West Africa, to Havana when officials from the Kingdom of Haiti took control of it and set free 145 Africans, victims of the odious traffic in human flesh. The captives were in an awful state. Many had already perished, and the survivors looked like ghosts ready to die of misery and starvation. Once ashore in Haiti, they were greeted by a crowd who assured them that they were free and among brothers and compatriots. 7 years earlier, the Northern Haitian military had captured a different Portuguese slaver carrying 2 Hausa-speaking children. These so-called Nouveaux Haitiens were stunned to hear their native language as they were surprised to find some of their former countrymen already living in Haiti. It was as if they were meeting once again the parents from who they had been ripped away. Such operations had by that time become common. The Northern military intervened to stop the slave trade again on the 2nd of February, 1811, when they captured a Spanish ship, the Santa Ana, and liberated 205 Africans shackled in the hold. Out of revenge, Spanish and Portuguese slavers began to attack Haitian merchant ships and engage in raids on Haitian beaches, seizing men, women, and children to sell into slavery. In 1812, a Spanish schooner captured the Haitian brig Poule d'Or and sold its captain, Azor Michel, and 2 children on board in Cuba. Azor and the children were returned only after Christophe intervened to request the return of all Haitian subjects who are or may still be detained in Cuba. Now, first things first, all of these military operations where enslaved Africans were rescued from European slave ships, they occurred under the regime of King Henry Christophe. Go to my playlist section. I have large libraries of content going deep into his history, his background, his life story. One of the greatest black men to ever walk the face of the earth. I call him the most powerful black man to ever walk the face of the earth of the last 500 years. In fact, I have a playlist entitled The Most Powerful Black Man of the Last 500 Years where I go deep into his life story. Go check that out, man. But yeah, in case many of y'all didn't know, during that time, the reason why the Haitian Revolution was successful and the reason why King Henry Christophe's regime was so powerful is because Haitians, the black men in Haiti, had the same military technology, had the same resources. In fact, they had more resources than the European powers themselves because they inherited the richest colony on the planet. So during that time, after the nation was established, Haitians, we had warships, just like the Europeans had warships. And we used our warships to go do battle against Europeans that were coming into our territory, coming into our waters, and trying to transport slaves across the seas. We rescued hundreds of our people. In fact, if you look on the bottom paragraph, it said, out of revenge, Spanish and Portuguese slavers began to attack Haitian merchant ships and engage in raids on Haitian beaches, seizing men, women, and children to sell into slavery. In 1812, a Spanish schooner captured the Haitian brig Poule d'Or. You see, the Haitian brig Poule d'Or, that was one of our ships. And they sold the ship captain, Azor Michel, and 2 children on board. So Azor Michel, that was a captain in the Haitian Navy during that time, he was on board with 2 children. And I believe those 2 children were his children. So in order to get revenge, because we were constantly smashing on the Europeans at sea and also rescuing our people, the Europeans began attacking our ships, and one of our Navy captains got captured and sold into slavery along with his 2 children. And then Christophe had to intervene and to request from the authorities in Cuba the return of all Haitian subjects who are and may still be detained in Cuba. With that one declaration, he put out that one declaration, and guess what happens? Them bitch ass niggas in Cuba, they sent the homie back, man. They sent the homie back. And many of us do not know these stories because obviously they're not going to teach this in school. They're not going to glorify the black man in these European curriculum schools. Never. You already know. So we got to teach ourselves. And due to the fact that Tariq Nasheed is a product of these European curriculum schools, he never heard these stories. He never heard these engagements. He never heard these accounts. He never heard these historical facts. And because of that, he's a damn near 60-year-old man with the education level of a 12-year-old boy and the historical and geopolitical level of a 10-year-old boy. He doesn't even know that Africans on the continent went to war with the Europeans for 100 years straight in the southern region of Africa because he has no historical geopolitical knowledge, bro. He's an amateur. He's a con artist. He's a novice. He's a grifter. Now, let's go into more engagements between Europeans and Africans, blacks versus whites. Let's get into it, man. If we want to talk about who's really doing battle against the Europeans and who's really not, let's talk about it. Let's set the record straight for real. But before we get into that, let's pay homage to Denmark Vesey, a revolutionary that also launched a slave revolt in the United States. Let's talk about his story real quick before we pay homage to the brothers around the world. Denmark Vesey, also known as Telemat, was an early 19th century free black and community leader in Charleston, South Carolina, who was accused and convicted of planning a major slave revolt in 1822. Although the alleged plot was discovered before it could be realized, its potential scale stoked the fears of the antebellum planter class that led to increased restrictions on both slaves and free blacks. In the summer of 1822, Vesey allegedly used his substantial influence among the black community to plan a major slave revolt. According to the accusations, Vesey and his followers planned to kill slaveholders in Charleston, liberate the slaves, and sail to the newly independent Black Republic of Haiti for refuge. So stop right there. That right there obliterates and abolishes his entire ideology and propaganda when he says that Black Americans don't flee. Black Americans don't flee. In case, like I said, go back to that video that I had entitled Tariq Nasheed Destroys Pan-Africanism. It's almost 2 hours long. And I documented multiple times where the Haitian government extended a hand to Black Americans on multiple occasions, starting in 1804, 1805, when Dessalines wrote to Thomas Jefferson offering to buy the freedom of every enslaved African in the United States. Obviously, Thomas Jefferson told Dessalines, nigga, suck my dick. And then later on in 1820, King Henry Christophe offered to pay the voyage and offer a ship to transport Black Americans to come live in Haiti. Unfortunately, Christophe died in 1820 before it could be finalized. And then in 1825, I believe the first migrants from the United States arrived in 1825 from the United States to Haiti, the present day Dominican Republic, I believe. But under that time, it was the entire island was under the rulership of the Haitian generals. And then once again in 1859 and 1861, Black Americans once again came to Haiti. Listen, go check out that video, almost 2 hours long. I go in depth. So when Tariq Nasheed says FBAs never run, FBAs never flee, bro, that's a lie. Not only did you run, but we helped you run by paying the damn tab, by paying the damn bill. We took money out of our own state coffers to pay the voyage. And why is that? Because y'all are brothers, man. That's why. Because y'all family. But unfortunately, due to the American education system turning Tariq Nasheed's brain into mashed potatoes, he forgot all about that. Actually, he never forgot about it because he never knew about it. Dumbass nigga. 3rd grade reading level ass nigga. Anyways, let's continue. By some contemporary accounts, the revolt would have involved thousands of slaves in the city as well as others who lived on nearby plantations. City officials sent a militia to arrest the plot's leaders and many suspected followers before the rising could begin, and no white people were killed or injured. Vesey and 5 slaves were rapidly judged guilty by the secret proceedings of a city-appointed court and executed by hanging on the 2nd of July, 1822. Vesey was about 55 years old. In later proceedings, some 30 additional followers were also executed. Another group, including his son Sandy, were convicted of conspiracy and deported from the U.S. City authorities ordered that Vesey's church should be razed and its minister was expelled from the city. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, if Tariq Nasheed is talking about who spilled the most blood, who fought the most against white supremacy, who took the most bodies, bro, if we want to be honest, you got to give that achievement to the tethers. You got to give that achievement to the non-FBA funny hairline having tethers. You got to give it to them because the documents show, the historical record shows that they were the ones that have spilled the most blood, that have took the most lives, that when it came down to it, to defend flag and country, nigga, the tethers was on the front line, nigga, sword in hand, nigga, gun in hand, nigga, shotgun in hand, nigga, and the Europeans, they already know what it is because they documented all these events. Now let's run down a quick list. Now keep in mind, this is just a quick list. if I really wanted to go down in depth, I would have to be here for 5-6 hours. I'm just going to give a quick list of things that I know off the top of my head. I already know I'm going to be missing some. Don't get into the comment section and crucify me. I'm just going off the top of my head. You can go into the comment section and add on to the list if you want to. The first one that I know off the top of my head is the Wade War. The Wade War was waged by France and its African allies against the Wade Empire and its allies from 1906 to 1912, a 6-year conflict. Located in what today would be Eastern Chad and Western Sudan, Wade fiercely resisted the French invasion for 6 years. Regardless, much of Wade, including its capital, fell to the invaders in 1909, forcing the empire's ruler, Dud Murrah, to continue the resistance from outlying provinces and allied states. He managed to gain the support of the Sultanate of Darfur and Dar Masalit and used these areas as rear bases during his attempts to oust the French. Doing so, he enjoyed some success and inflicted several defeats on French-led forces. In order to legitimize their intervention, the French installed Dud Murrah's relative, Adam Asil, as puppet ruler in Wade. After losing most of his forces and allies, Dud Murrah was forced to surrender in 1911. Regardless, unrest initially continued. A major anti-French revolt broke out soon after Dud Murrah's defeat, and an anti-European conspiracy was allegedly organized with the support of Adam Asil. The last effective anti-French resistance in Wade was suppressed by 1912, and the region remained a part of the French colonial empire until 1960. The next conflict that I know off the top of my head was the Congo War Rebellion, also known as the War of the Hoe Handle, and the Beya War, was a rural anti-colonial rebellion in the former colonies of French Equatorial Africa and French Cameroon, which began as a result of recruitment of the native population in railway construction and rubber tapping. It was a large colonial uprising, but also among the least well-known uprisings during the interwar period. Much of the conflict took place in what is now part of the Central African Republic, and this was a 3-year conflict. The next conflict that I know off the top of my head was the Mau Mau Rebellion from 1952 to 1960, damn near a decade-long conflict, also known as the Mau Mau Uprising. The Mau Mau Revolt, or the Kenya Emergency, was a war in the British Kenya colony between the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, also known as the Mau Mau, and the British authorities. Again, the reason why I'm placing an emphasis on the length of the conflict is because we have people whose longest military engagement against Europeans was 48 hours, and they're talking down to people who have waged war against Europeans for 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 12 years, 100 years straight, minimizing the blood that was spilled in these conflicts, minimizing the intensity of these conflicts, minimizing the lives that were lost in these conflicts. And why is he doing it? What purpose? Just to make $1, just to generate a profit, just to sell some t-shirts and some cups, just to sell some socks and some pepper spray. He's willing to minimize the liberation struggles of black people worldwide just to sell some t-shirts, bro. Just to sell some t-shirts. The next conflict that I know off the top of my head was between the Rabe Empire and the French colonial army. I believe this conflict took place east of Lake Chad, and it lasted from 1899 to 1901, about 2 years. And as you can see, the Battle of Togbao resulted in a victory for the African forces. So yes, I know we glorify the Haitian Revolution, but I just want to say, as a Haitian myself, we were not the only ones to defeat the Europeans on the field of battle. Our brothers back in Africa, they done put up points on the board as well, man. Our brothers back in Africa, they put up points on the board as well. So, you know, even though I glorify my ancestors, I always got to show love to the continent. I'm going to always show love to the continent because, like I said, they had battles against the Europeans starting the early 1500s all the way up into the mid 1900s. We just talked about the Mau Mau in the 1950s. So, you know, I'm going to always pay homage to the mother continent. Now, let's continue. The next battle that I know off the top of my head is the Battle of Izanwana. Now, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry. But this occurred on the 22nd of January, 1879, and was the first major encounter in the Anglo-Zulu War between the British Empire and the Zulu Kingdom. 11 days after the British invaded Zululand in southern Africa, a Zulu force of some 20,000 warriors attacked a portion of the British main column, consisting of about 1,800 British, colonial, and native troops, with approximately 350 civilians. The Zulus were equipped with traditional assegai spears and cowhide shields, and also had a number of muskets and antiquated rifles. The British and colonial troops were armed with modern Martini Henry breech-loading rifle and 2 7-pounder mountain guns deployed as field guns, as well as a Hale rocket battery. The Zulus had a vast disadvantage in weapons technology, but they greatly outnumbered the British and ultimately overwhelmed them, killing over 1,300 troops, including all those on the forward firing line. The Zulu army suffered anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 killed. Now, understand this. You got a group of white men, about 2,000 white men with rifles, modern technology, field guns, cannons, all that shit. You got about 20,000 black men spears in hand, and at the end of the battle, damn near every white man was dead, and only about 1,000 to 3,000 of the 20,000 black men had died. And similar to the British invasion of Haiti that occurred in the 1790s, where that was the most embarrassing military campaign in British history, where damn near every British soldier that went to Haiti, he fucking died. When the news got back to Great Britain that they lost at the hands of a bunch of black men running around with spears, bro, I'm telling you, bro, that was bad. That was bad for the national honor of the British people, man. They did not, man, that shit hurt their soul, bro. The next conflict that I know off the top of my head is the Anglo-Ashanti Wars. As we know, the first one took place from 1823 to 1831, and the second one took place about 40 years later. So that was decades of conflict, decades of engagement, decades of diplomatic relations. Now this story right here, man, I'm telling you, the Ashantis, hey, that story from the first Ashanti War, that's one of my favorites, bro. Not only did they wash the British on the field of battle, they took their general. They took the British general, captured him, cut off his fucking head, and turned his skull into a drinking cup. Let's hear about it, man. Let's hear about black men really going to war against the Europeans, man. Not just little bullshit cracking jokes on the YouTube live stream. Really going to war, really picking up that sword, really picking up that gun, really dying for the nation. Let's talk about it. The first Anglo-Ashanti War. By the 1820s, the British had decided to support the Fanti against the Ashanti raids from inland. Economic and social friction played their part in the causes for the outbreak of violence. The immediate cause of the war happened when a group of Ashanti kidnapped and murdered an African serviceman of the Royal African Corps on the 1st of February, 1823. A small British group was led into a trap, which resulted in 10 killed, 39 wounded, and a British retreat. Bitch ass niggas was running. The Ashanti had them white boys running, nigga. Let's get back into it. The Ashanti tried to negotiate, but the British governor, Sir Charles McCarthy, he's gonna be the one that gets his head cut off, rejected Ashanti claims to Fanti areas of the coast and resisted overtures by the Ashanti to negotiate. McCarthy led an invading force from the Cape Coast in 2 columns. The governor was in the first group of 500, which lost contact with the second column when they encountered the Ashanti army of around 10,000 on the 22nd of January, 1824 in the Battle of Nsamanka. I don't know, man. I don't want to mess it up. The Battle of, you know what I mean. Anyways, the British ran out of ammunition, suffered losses, and were overrun. Almost all of the British force were killed immediately, while 20 managed to escape. McCarthy, along with his ensign and his secretary, attempted to fall back. He was wounded by gunfire and killed by a second shot shortly after. Ensign Wetherell was killed while trying to defend McCarthy's body. Bitch ass niggas. Williams was taken prisoner for several months, and on his release narrated that he was spared death when an Ashanti sub-chief recognized and spared his life due to a previous favor Williams had shown him. Williams was held prisoner for several months in a hut, which also held the decapitated heads of McCarthy and Wetherell. Bitch ass niggas. Now time out. Tariq Nasheed, man. I mean, this the guy that said when the colonizers came, the non-FBA tethers, they bowed down. They sat down and shut up. Nigga, when the colonizers came, they got their head cut off, nigga. They got their head cut off and it was turned into a mug. Niggas was drinking coffee out the motherfucking head, nigga. Niggas was drinking water out the motherfucking European head, nigga. When the last time Tariq Nasheed killed a European general and turned his head into a cup and kept it in his collection? When's the last time you cut off the head of a European general? My nigga, stop it. You need to apologize to the Africans and the Caribbeans immediately, nigga. Nigga, the largest U.S. slave rebellion in history, only 2 white boys died. Bro, you saw how the Ashanti came through 10,000 deep, nigga. Took the general, cut off his head, nigga. Come on, bro. That was a general sent by the British Army, nigga. Them black men in Africa cut off his head. Bro, I love this story about the Ashanti against the British. This is one of my favorite stories ever, man. Shout out to the Ashanti. Let's continue. McCarthy's skull was rimmed with gold and was purportedly used as a drinking cup by the Ashanti kings. An eyewitness stated that he saw Ensign Wetherell, who appeared also to have been wounded, lying close to McCarthy. Some of the Ashantis were attempting to cut off his head and had already inflicted one gash on the back of his neck. Luckily, at this crisis, an Ashanti of authority came up and recognized Williams, from whom he had received some kindness, withheld the hand of the assailant. On Williams recovering his senses, he saw the headless trunk of McCarthy, Buckle, and Wetherell. Damn, we cut off all their heads, nigga. Man, that's one of my favorite stories, bro. That's one of my favorite stories. The British sent an invading army into Ashanti territory, and all their high-ranking generals got their heads cut the fuck off. And Tariq Nasheed got the nerve to hop online and say the bullshit he's saying. But that goes to show the intelligence levels of the black men that follow him, bro. That's why I say any black man that follows Tariq Nasheed, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I don't even respect your opinion on anything regarding anything of substance. Now, the next conflict that I know off the top of my head was the Mandingo Wars. A series of conflicts from 1883 to 1898, about 15 years, between France and the Wasalu Empire. and the Wassoulou Empire of the Mandingo people, led by Samori Touré. The French were ultimately triumphant and established dominance over the Ivory Coast. Black men 15 years fighting and dying for their national sovereignty and the territory of their ancestors. 15 years straight, nigga. Not 2 days, nigga. Not 1 day, nigga. Not 1 afternoon, nigga. 15 years. Even longer than the Haitian Revolution, which only lasted 12 years. And you'll notice a common theme when you look at the military engagements for the brothers in the Caribbean and Africa. Nigga, we had them white boys going to war, nigga, for years, nigga, decades straight, bro. Decades straight. So for Tariq Nasheed to come back and say that it was just a one-hit wonder, if all of these are one-hit wonders, then what do you call your accomplishments, Tariq Nasheed? If you label these as one-hit wonders, these conflicts that lasted 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years, what do you call your conflicts that lasted 48 hours? If they were one-hit wonders, my nigga, your single never even made it to the market. If that was a one-hit wonder, then thank you for acknowledging that it was a hit. But that means your single never even made it to iTunes, my brother. That means your single never even got mixed and mastered and left the studio, my brother. So really, Tariq Nasheed, stop flaunting the fact that you have no historical information, no geopolitical knowledge, the fact that you dropped out in the 9th grade, and you constantly reinforce that fact every time you hop online and talk bullshit and spread false narratives that force me to correct you and provide the true story as it pertains to the historical text. Now, I could continue. I could go on and on and on. I could talk about the Franco-Dahomean wars. I could talk about all type of conflicts that occurred. In fact, there's a whole Wikipedia page on Wikipedia entitled The List of Conflicts in Africa, going all the way back to damn near 1,000 years ago up until today. And in fact, before we get out of here, we're going to talk about the black men in West Africa in the Sahel that are currently going to war, fighting and dying to protect their national sovereignty and protecting their women and children against the rebels that are running all up and down the Sahel region right now. Let's talk about it. First things first, you already know sometime last year, around January 2022, the current president of Mali, the military rulers of Mali, told the French ambassador he has 72 hours to leave the country. And then later on, they suspended French media, and they also told the French military, as well as French-funded NGOs, they also have to leave the country. And guess what them niggas did? The French got the fuck up out of there. And that makes me think back to that video I played of Tariq Nasheed on Signetter when he said that separation from the Europeans is a fantasy because, according to Tariq Nasheed, the Europeans, they control Mars, they control Venus, they control the stars. But guess what? The black men in Mali told the Europeans, nigga, get the fuck out my house. Get the fuck out my house, nigga. Get the fuck out my house. And they got the fuck out the house. You know why? Because it was massive protests in the streets. Hundreds of thousands of people holding signs telling the French to get the fuck out my house. And when a president has an entire nation standing behind him, the only option the French had was to get the fuck out the house. So whereas Tariq Nasheed, he refuses to ever imagine a reality where he's separate from the European, the non-FBA tethers out in Africa, they don't live by that same doctrine. And the same reason why the government of Mali is currently fighting against the rebels in the Sahel is because of the constant manipulation and meddling of the French and the United States government in that territory. And did the men in Mali, did they start a YouTube channel and start talking shit and cracking jokes against the French military? No. They picked up their guns and they defended their national sovereignty. Right now, as we speak, the conflict is going on as we speak. And it's been going on for damn near over 10 years now. That means that the black men in Mali have been fighting and dying to protect their national territory since Tariq Nasheed was putting out Hidden Colors #1. Black men in West Africa been spilling their blood to protect their shit while you putting out DVDs acting like you run shit. Don't nobody take you serious, goofy ass nigga, modern day Al Sharpton ass nigga. Everybody know you ain't gonna pick up one gun, one musket. You're not even gonna pick up a fork to throw at a European, acting like you gonna do some shit, acting like you riding for some shit, nigga. You ain't gonna pull out a hair out of a European scalp. So stop talking like you hot shit. Stop talking like you run shit, nigga. You and your entire crowd of supporters and their low-level IQs, you niggas don't run shit nowhere, nigga. Black men in black countries really dying for their shit, nigga. Really putting their life on the line. Not sitting up on YouTube begging for donations on a live stream. You know why? Because they get money by doing commerce. They get money by doing trade with different nations of the world. They're not selling t-shirts, nigga. They're not selling pepper spray. They're not selling DVDs. And in fact, this was an article put out yesterday, February 20th, 2023. Burkina Faso marks the official end of French military operations on its soil because Burkina Faso, a next door neighbor of Mali, they seen their brother next door, told the French, get the fuck out. They did the same thing, followed the same footsteps, told the French military, get the fuck out. And you know what the French did? They got the fuck out, nigga. And of course, in typical European fashion, this was an article that was put out today, actually, February 21st, 2023, 13 hours ago. France eyes Ivory Coast after Burkina Faso boots out the French troops. Yeah, you saw that headline. Nigga, Burkina Faso booted them out, nigga. Told them, nigga, get the fuck out my crib, nigga. Get the fuck out my house, dog. Why are you here, dog? Get the fuck out. When's the last time Tariq Nasheed told a white man to get the fuck out of anywhere? What power do you have to tell a white man to do anything, nigga? Now, take a look up on the screen. I had discussed this in a video I put out a few days ago. Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Mali proposed strategic axis amid French military ouster. The three West African countries, all of whom have recently undergone military takeovers amid rising public anger against France, have agreed to a Bamako, Conakry, Ouagadougou axis with enhanced cooperation on matters ranging from trade to the fight against insecurity. Yes, you heard that right. These three countries have undergone military takeovers because they were not happy with the fact that their administration was in the pocket of the West. So they took up arms against their government, took control of their government, and all three told the French military, the French ambassador, the French media, the French army, get the fuck out of my house. And the French got the fuck out of the house. And I guarantee, if you ask Tariq Nasheed if he feels so strongly about the white supremacists, why don't you ever take up arms against your adversary? A whole bunch of babbling, stuttering, and stammering is gonna happen as soon as you ask him that question, because he's not serious. He's not gonna lay down his life for anything. The only thing he's gonna do is fire up his live stream every weekend, crack some jokes, put on a show, and go back to watching TV and watching Netflix and paying his taxes to the US government. He's not gonna do shit revolutionary. The only thing he's gonna do is make his followers feel revolutionary before they gotta go to sleep and clock in for work the next morning and work for the white man, while they pump their chest and talk down on different groups of people who actually fought white men longer and more successfully than they ever had. And when you ask them what was their largest and longest military conflict against Europeans, the shit lasted 2 days and only killed 2 white boys, man. Stop the bullshit, man. Anyways, it's your boy Nevercard Desaline back in the building. Yes, indeed. Like, share, subscribe, Cash App in the description. Tariq Nasheed, stop running your mouth. When it comes to history and politics, you don't know shit. Every time you open your mouth, the only thing you accomplish is you manage to embarrass yourself on every occasion. Now, damn, the video damn near an hour long, and I did not come here to handle what I came here to handle. I was supposed to tell y'all how to get money like Tariq Nasheed. All right. Let me handle that real quick. First things first, to get money like Tariq Nasheed, to be a successful race hustling grifter, number one, it's similar to meeting a new woman. You gotta gas her head up, you gotta big them up. That's why he says things like, man, it's our culture. We're the number one. We're the front line. Ain't nobody better than us. We the best. We the greatest. Everybody looks up to us. We God's gift to the planet. Similar to how you would tell a woman, baby, you so beautiful, man. I ain't never seen nobody as beautiful as you, man. If you weren't here, I don't know what I'd do. You gotta gas their head up, big their head up. And then you have to create an us versus them mentality. Now, you can't really do an us versus them mentality when it comes to white people, because most of Tariq's fan base, they work for white people. So they can't really create an us versus them mentality, because white people are the ones paying their bills. White people are the ones that provided this infrastructure for them. White people are the ones selling them toilet paper and soap to wash their ass. So they can't really go against the white people. That's why Tariq Nasheed kind of put that white supremacy gimmick to the side, that Pan-Africanism to the side, and he now honed in on black versus black xenophobia and conflict. Similar to the same game that is played from the elite class of white men down to the regular working class white man. The regular working class white man, he looks down upon the minorities, right? So the elite level white man gave him somebody to look down upon. So Tariq Nasheed gave his audience somebody to look down upon. And I forget the person who said that quote, but I remember there was a famous quote that said something to the effect of, if you give the regular white man somebody to look down upon, he'll give you all the money in his pocket, or something like that. I forget who said that quote, but for those of y'all who heard it, y'all know what I'm talking about. And it's the same thing. Tariq Nasheed is simply giving his audience somebody to look down upon, while also gassing their head up and telling them they're God's gift to earth. And to drive his point home, he constantly promotes these various inflammatory headlines to further inflame the conflict and give them a sense of persecution. That's why you always see them talking about everybody's hating on us, everybody's hating us, everybody hates us, because Tariq Nasheed gave them a sense of superiority over another group. He created an us versus them mentality against them and another group, and he also gave them a sense of persecution by making them feel like other groups are attacking them. But in reality, other groups got their own shit going on. Like I just told you, the black men in West Africa, they got their own conflicts going on in the Sahel. They're trying to form alliances and federations to fight against the terrorists. They're not worried about Tariq and his audience of goofy ass niggas that never finished grade school. They got bigger and better things to worry about. They got bigger and better adversaries to fight against. Tariq Nasheed trying to open a damn bagel shop. The black men in Africa, they trying to defend their national sovereignty. And you know Tariq Nasheed would never pick up a weapon to defend anything, because when the FBI came to his house, he got up out of his house, put his hands up in the sky, and got up on the ground without a single shot being fired to defend his castle. So don't you ever open your fucking mouth to talk about black men in different countries that wage war against the Europeans for years and decades and centuries long. Don't you ever open your mouth ever again, old ass nigga. Bow-legged, geriatric, wrinkly neck having ass nigga. Don't you ever open your mouth, nigga. Only thing you accomplish every time you open your mouth is you further embarrass yourself and you further expose the intelligence levels of your supporters. Because if they had an ounce of intelligence, they would have been called you out every time you spread these false historical narratives. Anyways, I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion.
passion. I left on a horse and came back in the ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching, he blocking my vision. Pay for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This shit is an art, and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you in court. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with friends, cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.